Behind her, she heard close rustling, the slide of a drawer, then things bumping together. Ah, here it is, her sister said. Footsteps sounded. Then, a delicate finger was tapping Glory on the shoulder. Heart pounding excitedly, she turned. Of course, her gaze flew to Hunter, and its good accord, hoping for another peek. He'd already tugged on a pair of jeans with a missing top button. Evie had probably beaten it off. Glory's chest started hurting again. Evie waved a black pen in front of her face. Hello, you're paying attention to me? Her gaze lashed in onto the pen, following its movement. Her frown returned. You're giving me a pen? A pen to finally claim revenge against the man who savagely wronged you. Yes, he did. How did he wrong you? She ignored the question. What I'm supposed to draw? What am I? What I'm supposed to draw a mustache on his picture? Newsflash, that's not going to leave him crying in his cornflakes. Why did you want him crying in his cornflakes? Grr. No matter how many times you ask, no matter how many ways, I'm not telling. Well, don't make him cry too hard. He's a good man and has always been nice to us. Nice. Evie had no idea the cruelty that man was capable of. But revealing what he'd done to her would be more mortifying than, say, find one of her sisters naked and in bed with a vampire, screaming his name as she climaxed. Pay attention, sister dear. Evie released the pen. It didn't fall. It hovered in the air between them, swirling, glittering, falling like raindrops around it. This little pen is magical. Rock on. What will it do? Anything you write with it will come true. Glory's eyes widened, and words thinking it. Anything I write will come true. Yes. Well, anything physical, nothing emotional. Just be careful. The more you write, the more ink you will use, and there's no way to refill it. Also, the effects don't last forever, only for a few hours. For proper revenge, it's best to write about clothes disappearing right off your body in the middle of a crowd. And don't help her, Hunter growled. Yes, but anything I write comes true. Glory asked again, just to be sure. Evie rolled her eyes. Physically, yes, I said so, didn't I? A laugh escaped her. Her first true laugh in months. Oh, this is classic. Truly perfect. I knew you'd appreciate the irony. What irony? Hunter sat up and propped himself against the headboard. Can I tell him? Evie asked her. Why not? Sure. He's almost family. I've been his goodies. His goods. She is a novelist. Evie threw over her head, best known for bringing her heroes to their knees. Not always because they fall in love, but mostly because the villains always check them up with a hammer to the tibia. Dear God, Hunter mumbled, this is bad, real bad. Glory rubbed her hands together. Yes, it was. Fallon, the bastard, was about to fall. Hardcore. Anticipation hung through Glory for the rest of the night and the following day. Possibilities rolling continually through her mind. She hoped Hunter would tell Fallon what was going on. Fallon would rush to her and beg her to forgive him, and she would get to slam a door in his face, causing him to toss and turn for hours in fear. But he never showed up. So when the sun finally descended for the second day, she padded to her bedroom, wading through clothes, shoes, and donut wrappers, grabbing a notebook and climbing onto the bed. It was time to test the pen's power. Ever since Fallon had, do not think about that right now. You know better. Already, with that tiny half thought, her pulse had kicked into overdose, and her stomach had clenched, sickness churning inside of it. Think about your revenge. For this to work, she needed to be strong, unemotional, otherwise, she'd do something mean. Fallon would look at her with those otherworldly violent eyes of his and she'd cave, maybe even apologize. He deserves to suffer. How best to torture him? She thought about what she knew about him. She'd never slept with him, but she knew what he looked like when he experienced unlimited pleasure. She knew how he tensed, knew his voice dripped harsh and raspy, knew he roared with the last spasm, pounding his big hard body into his lover's. Not helping. Breath burned in her lungs and fire rushed through her veins, but she couldn't stop her mind from traveling that road. One night she stumbled upon Fallon in the woods, making love to one of his many women, or as Glory liked to call them, one of his many hookers. Any hoodoo, she'd been unable to walk away. He'd been unnaturally beautiful and darkly seductive, whispering the most erotic nothings in the hooker's ear. Glory had suddenly understood why Fallon could fight vampires and demons for hours and hours without breaking a sweat. He was totally strength, inexorable stamina. Nothing tired him. The night she developed a tiny, enormous crush on him. Even though he was way out of her league, Glory was a wee bit on the body side, while Fallon personified perfection. She exercised by riding her bike into town to buy a bag of Doritos. He walked out, slaying his enemies without thought of hesitation. Men ignored her, women flung to him. She spent hours in front of a computer, living life in her mind. He actually lived inside other people's pants, but whatever. Rumor was he knew. Rumor was he knew what a female craved before even she knew. And anyone who experienced the bliss of his sometimes gentle, usually savage touch was never the same again. Watching him, Glory had begun to believe that she had fallen completely under his spell, haunted for days by his mesmerizing image. She yearned to have him in her bed, in her shower, on her floor, wherever she hadn't been picky. She just wanted him, desperately and unequivocally. She wanted him naked, sleeping and sliding into her. No one else wrapped around her, cherishing her. She'd wanted her name on his lips, his taste in her mouth, until her hands clenched into fists. You aren't supposed to think about this. The memories flooded her anyway. A few months ago, she'd overheard him telling Hunter that one woman was the same as any other, and love was for idiots. Since they shared the same mindset, love sucked giant elephant balls, and he didn't care who he slept with. She decided to go for it and threw herself at him. Pleasure was seriously lacking in her life, and she would have given all of her powers, well, rather, all of Elvis' powers, to have him look at her with desire, just once. That's all she needed, all she wanted. So, she'd gone to his house in nothing but a trench coat and heels, and yeah, she'd flashed him. He'd taken one look at her and laughed. Go home, little girl, he said. You don't know what you are playing at. I am 23, not jailbait, and I'm anything but little, as you can clearly see. I am here for a few hours of fun, that's all. Okay, let me put this another way. Get lost. You are not welcome here. I am not your type then, she stammered, mortified to her very soul. In that moment she understood, even though he'd said any woman would do, he'd meant any pretty woman would do. His gaze had become hard as it perused her. No, you are not my type. He could have spared the remaining tatters of her feminine pride. But another woman had walked up behind Glory. Casey, a girl who had graduated a few years ahead of Glory, had obviously craved the same thing as Glory, despite the fact that she'd come with a basket of fruit to sell, just as she'd been in school. Casey had been tall and thin and pretty, and Fallon had allowed that pink-skinned married fairy hooker inside before shutting the door in Glory's red-hot face. Remembering, Glory gnashed her teeth together. I will destroy his male pride, she said, determined. I will teach him what it's like to feel unwanted and ugly. But she spent the next hour staring at the notebook, mind blank. Shit, how did a girl teach a man that kind of lesson? Just write something, anything. Pretend this is one of your novels and taste the pen's power. Let's see. Roman soldier, no. Fallon didn't deserve to carry a sword, but she saw all kinds of possibilities in that same period. Gladiator, oh yes, Gladiator, wear sleeves, and she really liked the idea of Fallon in chains. Closing her eyes, she pictured Fallon pacing the dirt floors on a bird cell, sweat rolling down the sculpted muscle of his bronze stomach, pulling in his navel and dipping lower. Fresh from fighting, blood splattered him. Licking her lips, Glory shifted against the covers. The scene continued to open up in her mind, painting her thoughts with its description. She sucked in a deep breath and forced her hands to write what she saw.